Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Yeah. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only went one way, you late. Yeah. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. Yeah. Price go up, I ride the wave. Price fall fast, I short the gray. They need green just to feel okay. I make money in a hurricane. If you bullish only you half a trader. Market turn red, you a spectator. I stay paid in every layer. Volatility my elevator. They panic selling, I'm scaling in. They revenge trade, I'm stacking wins. They chasing candles, I fade the trend. Then cash out calm while they hold the L. You want direction, I want range. You want hope, I want exchange. You want luck, I want edge. That's why my account don't beg. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. I don't need green candles to eat. If you're scared too short, you're scared to win. Profit don't care about direction. Bulls celebrate, bears pay me. Volatility is my direct deposit. Your hope is my liquidity. I don't predict opposition. Fear is where the entries live. You pray for pumps, I prepare for dumps. I make money in corrections and celebrations. The trend is your religion. The range is my income. If the chart move, I get paid. Yeah. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. Money dance, deposits hit. Charge print checks and we pop champagne quick. Money dance, wrist too lit. If the market move, we get paid off it. Money dance, bags advance. Private terminal, leather seat stands. Cash in the safe, bank wires in hands. We don't pray for wins, we command the chance. Jet lounge quiet, marbling glass. iPad glowing, I'm watching the NASDAQ. Charge skill print, I'm wild boarding the flight. Volatility, funding the life I design. Rich and Millie catching sun through the shade. Risk costs more than they salary made. They screaming pump, I'm fading the move. Then I short the top while they chasing the news. Money in the accounts, money in the safe. Money in motion, stacking by the day. If the candle shake, I don't feel a thing. I increase size when the fear hits the spring. We don't chase hype, we execute plays. We don't need luck, we operate with edge. They need green just to feel okay. I get paid when the structure breaks. Money bags, deposits hit. Charge print checks and we pop champagne quick. Money bags, wish too late. If the market move, we get paid off fee. Money bags, bags of vast. Private terminal, leather seat stands. Cash in the safe, bank wires in hands. We don't pray for wins, we command the task. Money bags when me alert go off. Wire clears before the jet takes off. My wires cost what they owe in debt. Profit alerts, louder than flags. Fear hit charts, I increase size. Weak hands fold, I monetize. I don't guess, I position. Luxury funded by precision. Cash sleep heavy in hidden safes. Numbers long in multiple states. Volatility pays my flights. Discipline built this life. Money dash, money dash. Money dash, money dash. Money dash, money dash, money dash, money dash, money dash.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream. We got the hat on today, guys. The haircut expired. What is going on, Mafia? Welcome in, and shout out to the Carissa Mella. It is indeed. I am wearing a black t-shirt. About 98% of the time, I am wearing a black t-shirt. But shout out to everybody in the chat. What is going on? We got Bitcoin getting another drop to the downside here as we push into kind of technically our next local level of support. How strong is this level? We got some bull dips forming. Are we going to get the bounce? What am I expecting overall? I want to talk about that today. Are we coming down to take out the lows below about $60,000? Well, I hope so, and I hope if we do it sooner than later so we can get out of this choppy price action. Currently just kind of chilling in the shorts, holding a little scalp long position here from the golden pocket that we're sitting at right now. But I want to talk about the local price action as well as the higher time frame levels that we should be looking at to look for the bigger bounces to come in. Can we put the higher low in where we're at right now? We'll cover the money flow. We'll cover everything with you guys today. I will talk about exactly where I think price is going next. But shout out to H-Bar to the Moon. Said, Frankie, give a shout out to Alexis for me. Hey, H-Bar to the Moon. Shout out to Alexis. I don't know if Alexis is your daughter, granddaughter, niece, girlfriend, I don't know, but shout out to Alexis. Thank you for tuning in to the Frankie Candles live stream. But shout out to H-Bar to the Moon. We got Coin Hoover in the chat, Oliver in the chat. We got Wayne, Lyndon, Rudy. What is going on, Rudy with a Y? What is going on? We haven't seen Rudy with two I's in a minute. We got Ruin Walker, welcome in. We got Darren Does Things and Tony D holding it down right now as our mod. Show them some love in the chat. We got Big Huggies. Said, is this Rudy's beat? No, those were some beats that we made. I'm going to play Rudy's beat on the way out. I didn't have it open, but I will open it up when we sign out. I love that. The CandleMafia anthem. Shout out to Rudy. But we got JJ in the chat said, this is a sub song. No, you're talking about Rudy's song probably. Well, I'll try to play that on the way out. The CandleMafia theme song. But let's see. We got Bullish Sauce. What is going on? Said, ride or die. We about to moon. What is going on, Bullish Sauce? Well, at some point, hopefully we can moon, guys. We're going to try to cover that today. Can we bounce from where we're at right now? It took a while to come down to this level, but this was technically the only other level that I was kind of interested in, even though, you know, we'll talk about it. We got some mixed signals popping up on the charts. We got a daily red dot. We'll talk about exactly what I think price is going to do next. Let's see. I said I was replacing Jesse as a mod. Shout out to Chris and Mello. We got a self-proclaimed mod in the chat. You can talk to Dave Digital about how he was a fake mod turned into a real mod. He spoke it into existence. But anyway, guys, with all that being said, we got some stuff to look at here on the chart. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So obviously, we're going to pull up the local range here. So let me just hide some of these levels here right now. Locally, bada boom, we'll hide that golden pocket. Obviously pushing into the golden pocket here. But last week, as we looked at, guys, we were inside of this volume profile. We actually did take the long position below the volume profile with our bullish divergences forming down here. We got accepted back into the value area low, and we pushed up here. We held the value area low. We came down for one more retest there on Friday, and then we continued to push up in to Saturday before getting a rejection and getting a pretty aggressive dump to the downside here, pushing us out of that volume profile. And as you guys know, when we get above that value area low, the highest probability area to look for price to go is going to be that POC. And I did take that long position, and I did not take profit. I did not move my stop loss to break even. I actually did get stopped out at a loss on that long position. I do not win every trade. I do like to talk about the losers as well as the winners. But what happened here was we did actually come down to our local golden pocket retracement. I was actually looking at the full golden pocket from the lower high to the lower low. With our, or not lower low technically, but from the lower high to the low here. I was looking at that golden pocket sitting here in confluence with that POC, but we did actually end up, I believe we rejected an anchored VWAP here from this high as well. Yeah, we came down, we tried to get above that anchored VWAP. We could not hold it. We bearishly back tested it and then got that big drop out of the volume profile, and obviously putting in a lower high and continuing down here. As we push into support, guys, are we able to hold this level? Now, obviously, when we look at this, we did have a little bit of a local level of support here. Actually, you got to reload this now. At the golden pocket, and when we pull up our current major volume profile, you guys know that my biggest area of interest here on the charts is not really until we come down to the low here at about $59,815. Obviously, the value area low of the range. We got down here. We rotated the range in full, got the bounce from the low back to the high, and then, of course, deviate above the high. We get back into the range right down to the POC. Couldn't get out. At this point, we are now attempting to lose this point of control. So the question becomes, obviously, as we look at this, my bigger interest is always going to be towards that value area low, as these volume profiles do have a very, very, very high probability of filling in full. And excuse me, I do still prefer this level, guys, and we might have to wait for it for a while, but this is still my biggest area of interest. Of course, from a high time frame perspective, the weekly, the monthly, or weekly and monthly MPOCs and the weekly horizontal do still sit down here between, right, kind of boring price action here, just wiggling around until we could eventually get down to these bigger levels. But that bigger level of support does sit down here between the weekly, monthly, and naked points of controls and the weekly horizontal, also confluent with our 2021 value area high. Huge, huge, huge major level of support. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed to hold up, but this is my biggest interest, obviously, to the downside. And until we get down here, we kind of have to deal with, in my opinion, pretty low probability levels. Of course, we have the golden pocket 786 pulled from the low to the high. This is the level that we're pushing into right now. We had a little bit of confluence here with the golden pocket and the daily naked point of control. This is the level that we, talked about time and time again. There it is, sitting between about $64,882 and $64,000. And we have pushed into that level at this point. And I'm going to go down to the lower time frames and talk about what we're seeing here. Can we see a bounce back to the upside? But before we dive into the lower time frames, I do just kind of want to cover the higher time frames. Of course, like these are kind of the lower probability levels in my opinion. Of course, we have opportunities for a little bit of a bounce. But at the end of the day, the stronger levels do sit down here, of course, based off the volume profile. Deviate below the high, right? Back to the POC. Can't get back above the POC. We are going to eventually look for that low to come in. This is my preferred scenario for bigger, long positions. Until then, I'm really just looking for scalps, anticipating them to eventually roll over and continue to the downside. And on top of the fact that we have now lost the point of control, right? From a higher time frame perspective, we have obviously just the value area low and then those bigger high time frame levels underneath us. Everything else is local, guys. I don't love any of this support. The only reason, as I've mentioned before, right, that I'm even a little bit interested on bounces from these levels is that it is a golden pocket 786. When you take the range off the chart, right, I'll even hide the horizontal levels. Technically, right, we could potentially put in a higher low here for a higher high. But the problem there is, of course, when we zoom out here, we do have the daily red dot printing. And on top of that, right, when we see that daily red dot printing, we want to hop on down to the 90-minute, which is the 1/16th time frame of the daily. And we do have that money flow also crossing into the red, indicating potential continuation of the trend lower. You see the daily red dot, you see the 90-minute money flow crossover. That 90-minute money flow crossover does oftentimes indicate continuations of that downtrend. So I don't really, to be honest, like any of the other scalp longs. I've taken a few scalp longs in here. I got stopped out of, I think, one somewhere over here. I got stopped out of this one at a small loss. Also took a scalp, I believe, right here that we closed for profit. But of course, other than like the low probability, kind of lower time frame scalp positions, right? Like I don't really have any significant interest until we break these lows. And I know that's kind of been the situation for quite some time. We're just kind of in super choppy price action, even on the lower time frames, right? Like money flow. We also have the 1 hour money flow coming into the red here. Again, not super indicative. We do have bullish divergences forming in here as well, which is what I want to cover on the lower time frames with you. Right? We did come down. We swept the lows. We have the bullish divergences, but of course, not all bull divs are created equal. So I don't really have super high hopes for this long position, even if it continues to play out. I don't necessarily think this is going to be like the biggest trade ever. Because that money flow is going to also indicate on top of the 90-minute with the daily 90-minute money flow crossover into the red and the daily red dot, right, does oftentimes indicate a continuation of the downtrend in some form or fashion. So it's not super beautiful where we have bull divs at a major key level with money flow all coming up. And again, between the different time frames, they typically act as dominoes, right? So like if we had like low time frame money flow coming up and then the medium time frame money flow was also about to cross into the green, we had the 4 hour money flow about to cross over into the green, and it was like leaking into those higher time frames. I feel a lot better about this being a higher low for a higher high, right? So just to kind of explain why I'm not super amped on any of these levels, and I'm really just viewing them as scalps until maybe proven otherwise, but I'm going to let that hit me by surprise. That's why, right? You have a lot of your money flow coming out. You got the daily red dot on top of your daily money flow, generally trending to the downside here, which is, of course, indicative of the continuation of the downtrend, which is why my higher time frame kind of preference is to see the low get taken out here, right? Or at least a continuation lower. Once we lose that 786, technically the 786 would be the line in the sand. Sits at about $62,473. Once we lose that, right, like it's very high probability that we're going to come down and take out that low into the bigger levels of support. That's my preferred scenario. And of course, as we've looked at previously, we didn't get it, but as we saw this red dot printing on Wednesday, right, saying, well, hey, if we get the big drop down, we could obviously take out that low. If we take out that low, we could look for the bullish divergences on the daily. We did not get that. We now have another daily red dot. Even if we have to bing bong around here on the daily, guys, this is a pretty oversold momentum wave, so we still have opportunities if we do want to leak down here. And of course, fill that larger volume profile, take out the low. We do still have, I will still be looking for daily bullish divergences, right? So if we can come down into these bigger key levels, technically sitting between about the previous low at about 60K down to about $55,000 towards the value area high of the previous 2021 bull market range. Obviously, we have the confluence down there. If we could come down and push into those levels with those daily bull divs, still going to be a big thing that I'm looking for some kind of a bigger confirmation to see some kind of a larger push to the upside. So I am very interested in these lower levels. Until then, I'm just looking at these as local scalps, which of course has been the plan, right? I've talked about that ever since before we came down here. Now we're here. I've taken the scalp long. I'm looking at it as a scalp. I don't have super high hopes for it, and you guys will notice a trend here throughout pretty much every long position we've taken here has all been viewed as a scalp, right? Like not super high hopes for them. And why is that? Well, it's really based off the theory of the volume profiles, as well as the fact that there's not a ton of, big confluence on any of these levels, right? I've compared this many a times to the previous range that we were in all the way up here, right? We understood that this was the real key support. We had the volume profile, right? We took the long from here, rode it up to the high, obviously shorted $98,000, which, of course, I am still holding. I'm holding both trades. I have this one on WEX is from $98,000, still got almost $13,000 unrealized. Got a bunch of profits locked in on that as well. Massive drop to the downside, massive money to be made, but I am continuing to hold these, right? We have massive weakness in the market. And I don't really see a reason to close this just yet. If I do close it, it'll probably be on some kind of bigger sign of strength. Yes, I will make less profit, but that's just kind of the trade-off of potentially being able to capitalize a bit more. So I need a reason to close these trades. I'm also holding one on Blowfin, also up similarly to this one. But the thought process there was like, hey, we understand that the higher probability is for the bigger trend to continue to the downside based off high time frame money flow. And even here, right, we were looking at some of these Fibonacci retracements, right? We had a 786 here, like, and a daily MPOC. Could we have gotten a bounce? Yes, we actually did on a very low time frame, but they were viewed as like very small trades before the overall continuation to the downside. We even had a daily MPOC right here at about $82,000, right? What happens? We do get down there. We do get a little bit of a bounce, but again, right, we understand there's not a ton of confluence, and the bias is the continuation to the downside. So there's not that you can't scalp these for little moves up for a little bit of profit on the day, but overall, it's very similar, right? We understand that most of the strong support was right here. Once we lose those levels, you're kind of looking for that to be lackluster bounce, and eventually getting the bigger drop down. It's very similar here. It's not that you don't have any levels like this, right? We did have the daily MPOCs. We did have the 786. But of course, right, like long term, you zoom out to a higher time frame, right? Like obviously, it's really just for low time frame scalps, right? You're eventually anticipating that bigger move down. Very similar here, in my opinion. Yes, we have the golden pocket. Yes, we have the daily MPOCs. But even here, right, we push into those. Where's it at? Right here. Let me hide this. Right, even the long position that we took locally, right here, we push into two daily MPOCs. We had the bullish divergences forming. We also had the local range, right? Lower lows on our price action. Higher lows on our momentum waves. We hit the key level. We had the confirmations. We look to get back into the range for the continuation up. But of course, not anticipating that to be a gigantic move, right? It's kind of the same thing. Money to be made, but, you know, is it going to be a massive move into all-time highs or, you know, even like new highs locally? Probably not. Higher probability of the continuation down. And that's how I'm viewing this, right? So it doesn't mean you can't capitalize for small profits, but, or, you know, maybe big profits too, but you just have to understand the context is very, very important. Let me take those tap levels off the chart. So it's the same thing down here, right? Just like I showed on the upper range. Sure, you have the 786. Sure, you have the daily MPOC, but I'm just not really going to be shocked here if it's just bounce, roll over, right? Bounce, roll over, bounce, roll over, to get down to those bigger levels within the profile, which very simply, this is the biggest range I'll be looking at on the higher and medium time frames. 59.8 at the value area low. POC, which of course is the biggest level that we would have to get above in order to see a bigger move up. If we can't get above that, obviously the value area low becomes that next key level. So 59.805 at the value area low, POC 67.303, and then the value area high up here at $70,209.70. And then of course you have the backup horizontal support. And if we take the ranges off the charts, and we just look at this from a horizontal perspective, right? Where are all those bigger levels of resistance? Massive resistance above us, right? I could take that tap monthly off the chart, right? When we just look at this from a higher time frame perspective, the biggest levels are down here. And then eventually, right, we still have local levels here where we're going to be looking for shorts. We still have, obviously, the longs that we've been taking here in the chop. But for the big moves, if you're here just for, like, price action, where are we going next, etc. Up here, really sitting between, like, I'm looking at like $85,000 to $86,000 to start the big resistance, and then down here between $58,000 and $55,000 for the big support. So kind of just stuck here in the choppy price action, unfortunately. And I will break down some local levels as well in case we are going to come up a little bit for a lower high. I'll talk about the major levels of resistance there as well. Can we get your opinion on the heat map? Shout out to Wayne. Let's take a look here. I actually do have them up. Let me pull up the weekly time frame real quick. I'm here on a lower time frame. Take a sip of that Aztecian and Cactus. Starbucks. All right, let's see here. So on the liquidation heat map, bada boom. On the weekly, right, which is kind of the first significant time frame that I like to look at. I don't typically look at these on super low time frames, to be honest, unless I'm like looking for low time frame scalps. But we do have some liquidity sitting up here around 67.8. So if we pull that up on the chart, where we at? 67.8. Bada boom, 67.8. So yeah, like pretty much above this high. Let me pull that heat map back up real quick. So starts at about, 67.8, leads up to about almost 69K. What is this? Yeah. Oh, no, this is 66. 67.8 is above these highs. So you do have relative equal highs here. And this will kind of line up with a couple other things I want to look at today. So, yeah. So I would say the liquidity, if I were to mark it out here, 67.8 leads up to about 68.8, right, above these highs. So, whoops. So you do have some liquidity sitting up here. So really the way I would look at this, right, the two major ranges I'm looking at are going to be this range, local volume profile that we've been bing-bonging around in. Now we got accepted out of it. And then obviously the bigger range, right? So, if you're just trading this, in my opinion, there's not much to do to either wait to break out of here out of nowhere or just wait for the bigger level at the value area low. Obviously, longs at the lows, shorts at the highs is typically the way you want to look at these volume profiles. So if you're trading this bigger range, in my opinion, I would set alerts down here at the value area low and kind of just chill. But of course, right, if you're out there day trading or scalping, you could take a look at those local ranges. Or local range, I should say, not ranges. Sitting right here, right? Value area low, 66.8. Value area high, 70,875. And then your POC is sitting here. Let me just extend this over to the loss. So I'm actually going to move this, and we actually talked about this in the premium live stream. The reason I'm going to extend this is because price remained in balance, and then we got the shot out, right? So this is technically still in balance, so I'm going to readjust this, actually. Value area low moves down a little bit. POC moves down quite a bit. And actually, you know what I'm going to do here? Because I am going to personally want to keep an eye on this range. I'm going to pull a new one so I can keep both of these on the chart, right? So I'll pull it to the impulse. So this would be right here. Value area high sits at 70,146. POC, whoops. POC sits at 67,953. And then you have your value area low sitting here at about 66,359, right? So liquidity sits right above that POC, essentially. You have a weekly MPOC in confluence with that point of control. Let me take this off. And I guess we'll just get in here to the local levels of resistance here. So pulled from the high to the low, golden pocket sits in there. You have the liquidity. You have the POC. You have the weekly naked point of control. So when we bring up if we get the bigger move up here, I want to talk about the biggest levels of resistance to look at, again, locally, guys. This is a low probability area, in my personal opinion, right? So, like, kind of this local TA is, I'm not even really super interested in this. Even for short positions, I'm already positioned short from much higher. So I don't even really have a ton of interest in trades in this entire area. But of course, right, not everybody is just chilling in the shorts for much higher. So I do like to bring up these levels for you guys. But you have your golden pocket, POC, right here. Of course, your liquidity you could keep in mind as well. Weekly MPOC. And then I'm going to pull this anchored VWAP from the lower high. Comes in right there. So the two major areas I would be looking at. Let me just see something here. And this would just be simple volume profile, right? If we do somehow, right, I have a funny feeling, right, that if we do get a bigger bounce here, it's probably going to be a lackluster bounce for a continuation down for the bigger levels. But if we did continue up, let me see if we have any other confluence here. Pull up some daily MPOCs. Nothing. No daily. We just double check that. Yeah, no daily. So these would be like kind of the two major zones of resistance, in my opinion, right? If we do work our way back up here somehow, this anchored VWAP will likely move its way down to be confluent with this. So you'll have the value area low, the golden pocket, and the anchored VWAP. 3 levels of confluence, not too shabby. And of course, right, if you're looking at, your money flow, right? Again, bullish divergence is not impossible to bounce. But of course, money flow is going to indicate the longer term trend. So, if we're going to come in for a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low, we can come take out these highs into the golden pocket value area low / anchored VWAP. And then potentially, this is an opportunity to look for potential short positions, not financial advice, of course, for a potential rejection back down. So there you go. This zone does sit between about 66,290 and 67,03. or $67,003, 67K. And you do have confluence in there. And then if we get above that value area low, let's say we get in here, right? Maybe you reject the golden pocket, stay inside the value area low. I don't know what price action is going to look like in here, right? If, I don't know what money flow looks like. If it does look good, we wind up getting in there. We accept back into the range. Well, great. We're long from the lows. And then we can look to break above that golden pocket. Once you break above the golden pocket, the next likely place for price to go is the 786, which is confluent with your next area of resistance, sitting between 67,583 and 68,453. Personally, again, I'm short for much higher. So I'm not even really worried about catching shorts from these areas. But of course, I know not everybody's in that situation. So if I were not in a short right now, these would be the biggest levels of resistance I would be looking at. If I don't catch a short from here, I just don't care, because if we get the bigger nuke down, right, of course, I'm holding the shorts from all the way up here. So, but that's going to be kind of within the local range and kind of the local TA here. If you're looking for day trades, if you're not holding shorts, these would be the biggest levels, in my opinion, to look for. And let me see if we have... Pull up an anchored VWAP here. Let me pull it from this lower high. Yeah, this another significant anchored VWAP may be confluent with that zone as well, just adding to the confluence. And then once we get above that golden pocket, I'm personally going to prefer to come back up to the value area high. But until then, guys, we kind of got a lot of work to do here to get the bigger move up. So those are the two biggest zones of resistance. Opportunity for rejection. We get above that. This would be the second opportunity for the rejection. You just got to be careful here with the liquidity sweeps, because you have a lot of liquidity in here. Price wiggles up, break the golden pocket, 786. Once we get above there, right, you could just start to see a little bit of a squeeze come in. But again, that's if we get up there, guys. Just don't know how confident I am about getting back into that range. And of course, you don't need to have 100% confidence that you're getting all the way back up there, right? Because if we do, well, great. The scalp long continues to play out. Beautiful. And if we don't, right, again, I personally don't really care, because I'm already covered on the shorts. If I was not in a short and we did not get up to these bigger key levels, I would just accept that I'm not in a short. I should have been short from higher, and I would just wait for the bigger move down to wait for the bigger long positions. So that's the local range. Let me just grab all this and put it into a folder here. Whoa. Calm down, everybody. I'll just make a new folder. Bada boom. Grab the fixed range, drop it in there as well. So, bada boom. Number one, that's local for the key levels to the upside. Key levels to the downside, honestly, we're already pushing into one of them. Second level would be here. I'm not super interested in this. So, I would say, and like even this, right, if we pull up both of these together, right, you could see whether you're looking at the old range or the current range, both confluent levels of resistance, right? Like new POC is basically sitting on this weekly MPOC. So whether you're looking at the current range or the older range, right, you're still going to have that $68,000 level of resistance to look at, whether it's a weekly MPOC or the point of control of the range. I don't want to confuse people by, should I extend my profile? Should I not extend my profile, right? I wouldn't really worry about it too much because, again, if you have that weekly MPOC there, you're looking at that other point of control. So, at the end of the day, it's either come back up, retest, back down, or if we get accepted, we can look for the bigger move up through the range. But again, I am just not super interested in a lot of this price action, guys. If I did not have I said this to the premium Discord, if I did not have a Discord or a YouTube channel or anything like that, and I was just trading as some nerd in his basement, just trading price action with no other responsibilities, I'd probably just be sitting in my massive profits here, kind of chilling, waiting for the bigger levels. So we'll see what happens. I really do prefer something like this, guys. This would be beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, if we end up losing this value area high at about 55K, that's where we have to start looking down towards 47K. Lose that, right? I'd be okay with high. Like, we look at this from a weekly time frame. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, we get down to that 47K POC, guys, regardless of what happens up here, right? We lose that 47K POC. This is going to be much more bearish for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Very likely that opens up the targets down here in the 30s. But again, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But we'll see. I don't think we're probably going to get too much of a significant move here. Hopefully we do. Starting to push up here from the long position. So we'll see what happens here. Let me jump on into chat. Shout out to Philip says, how big do you see the chance of for a move over 72K after hitting 56K? I'll say this, right? I think it's higher probability. It would be higher probability than if we were to see it from where we are now. I really don't have a preference inside of here, guys. I have a preference, right? But like from a probability perspective, I guess technically my probability perspective would be the same as my preference. When I say my preference, I just mean like we covered this on last week's live streams. The reason I prefer this is because we'd actually have a significant reversal signal on a higher time frame. Right now, we just don't have that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't continue up. Right? It's just easier to call for a bigger continuation up or a bigger reversal when you actually have that confirmation. So that's why I prefer this. But I would say I would like it a lot better to get it down here rather than just come up. Does that mean you can't come up? Absolutely not. You might say like, well, then what do? Right? Well, you don't need to know. Right? A lot of people will take that. It's kind of like if you take a prediction-based mindset, right? It's like, well, should I long here for a move to 72K? I don't care, right? Because I am already long from down here. If it ends up shocking me and my preference doesn't play out, which does happen sometimes, then that's fine, right? I'm already positioned for a long in the long, right? So I don't really look at that as like, again, I do think it's like when you look at the higher time frames, it's like once you get up here, right, you got the big point of control of the range, the weekly MPOC, which is also confluent with all those local levels we looked at in there. This is a huge level of resistance, right? If we can't get above that POC, well, guess what? Overall, you're expecting the continuation down to the value area low. The probabilities that this fills is, in my opinion, right, and I guess statistically, higher than just to, like, yeet on out of here. So I would say probabilities of coming up from here, I don't know a specific number, but I would say, like, this is lower probability than seeing it from down here. And, again, I don't even really know. Once we get down there, it depends on what price action looks like. We might not get any bounce here, right? But to me, at that point, fear is just insane, right? Everyone's Bitcoin's dead. Oh my God, the fear index is already so low. How, this is a dead asset. Oh my God, right? But you're pushing into massive support. At that point, it's like, hey, that's typically where we're looking for longs. And then on the way up, right? I just don't know what the price is going to look like. I don't know what money flow is going to look like on that push to the upside. So to give a probability of, how likely it is that we see a push above 72K after coming here, I just don't know. Right? Because if money flow looks one way, it might look really likely. If it looks bad, it's going to look less likely. I just won't know that answer until we get down here. So, if we get the bounce from here, I'm going to be keeping an eye on local resistance, which is, of course, going to be the value area low. And then, of course, we'll be pulling the Fibonacci retracements from the last significant high to the low, right? Which would put a lot of resistance here at the POC. And then we could pull from the lower highs. Again, I don't know where those are going to come in. So we just need more information. That's just kind of more like a speculative guess, in my opinion. The only other way I could see you getting like some kind of a higher probability prediction on that is if you were looking at Elliott waves. Not something I typically look at, not because I don't think they work. I just don't typically look at them. So we'll see what happens, right? It really depends on what price looks like down here, right? Like even when we got up here and we took the short at 98K, it's like, we wouldn't be interested in this. We would have not been interested in this short position if price action looked really good, right? It didn't. It looked good for the short, so we took it. But when we're down here, it's really hard for me to say, like, although this was a big key level we were looking at, we were prepared for the short while we were bing-bonging around down here. We just don't know, right? If price action just, rips through here and then we're back testing this as support, maybe it looks different. We just don't know. We have to wait till we get up there. So what I do, right, is I just set the traps. Right, I know that I have a trap set here at 72,400 or 72,641. If we get up there, right, I don't care. Right, if we get up there first, well, guess what? That's the next big area I'm looking at for a short. Right, obviously we have the local levels we talked about. From a higher time frame perspective, though, I'd really like to see a deviation above this high. Right, so for me, bigger opportunities for a rejection up here, bigger opportunities for the bounce taking out the low down here. And then until then, it's just kind of like low probability scalp setups. So I don't know. To me, it doesn't really, to me, it just doesn't matter. If we get up here first, well, great. I'll look for the short position. Long will continue to pay out. If we don't get it first and I get my preference, which would be the drop down, then beautiful, right? And then we'll just, once we get the bounce there, right? If we come up and put in a lower high, we'll know that, right? Well, we'll very likely have a high probability of understanding that'll happen, and we'll look for a move down. If it looks like we're going to 72K, well, that'll be the case. So, yeah, I would just say it's kind of like a gamble or just like a random guess, in my opinion, at least based off what I look at. So many people are calling for 30K. Makes me think that we won't get it. It's kind of my thought process too, brother. Again, you guys kind of know my base case is not 4-year cycle. We have to go down to 30K, wrap it up, come back when we get to 30K, right? Well, that would be great if I knew that for a certainty, right? Obviously, I don't know that for a certainty. What I can say is certain is that we do have major support down here, right? So it's kind of the same thing when everybody, in bull markets and bear markets, it's the same thing. Get down to the lows, everyone calls for 3K. They don't get it, right? They miss the bottom. They have to buy on the way up, right? Not a situation you want to be in. Same thing at the top. Everyone wants 200K, 150K. They don't get it. They miss it. They wind up either selling on the way down or round tripping their bags. Not us, but a lot of people do end up in that situation, right? So now we're here trying to, 2026 bottom watch is what I've been calling it. I don't know what the price action is going to look like. I don't want to go over this again, but last week we did cover kind of my full thought process on why I'm looking for potential bottoms here. The biggest levels, right? Unless the bottom is in right now, which of course is kind of hard to call because we don't have any major high time frame signals, and part of the reason why I do prefer a drop to the downside. But first major zone to look at is between about 55 and we'll just call it 47K because we're looking at the higher time frames here. It's not impossible, right? To have a bottom form here. Everybody's calling for 30K, and we don't get it, right? The two major scenarios we've been looking at are something like this in the better case, and then we have the line in the sand at the 47K POC. If we lose this, that is where it becomes much more likely that we see 30K. Until we come down here, have no bullish confirmation, the charts look like trash, and we identify that it's higher probability to lose this level, which we won't know until we get down there, right? We have to understand this is big support, and there is a possibility of a bottom coming in there. In that case, everyone will see this and think, oh my God, it's all over. We're going to zero. Here comes 30K. Here comes 8K. CME gap at 3K. I guarantee you someone will call for that. But what they won't see is that there are actual bottom signals forming here on the chart, and it is less probable to get a move down to 30K, right? It's the same thing here. Right? You can have lower targets, right? Technically, the lower targets here would be between, I don't even know, like really 30K, the value area low, right? Get accepted into the range. It's just simple volume profile theory. Lose the value area high. That's kind of your first warning sign. POC, last chance to bounce. Lose that. Well, guess what? We're looking for the value area low. It's not until that happens where I'll be looking for that. You can have the lower target, but if we see bottom signals form earlier, we're not going to be looking for that anymore, right? So, this is the big zone first. I won't be worried about 30K until we start losing this, right? Same thing here. I had 12 and 14K as lower targets, which was here and here, right? A little lower. We didn't hit it. Did I miss the bottom? No, right? Because I understood that we had bottom formations coming in, right? And I was also dollar cost averaging this whole way down, right? So it's not set the alert, sit on your hands, and just, at least from a spot bag situation, it's not set the target and be like, I'm not interested in buying until we get down here, right? If we see the bottom signal forming early, well, guess what? At this point, bull div confirms, money flow starts coming back up. At this point, it's like, hey, much lower probability that we see those lower targets. I'm no longer interested in that target. So the way that would look is if we start seeing something like this, right? We see a weekly bull div forming. We start getting back above this value area high. At that point, it's no longer high probability that we get down to 30K, right? Because you're getting out of that value area. You held the POC. If we see this here, I'm not going to be anticipating 30K. If we don't see something like that, right, which again, I don't know what it's going to look like, then we can start looking towards 30K. So I would say like first opportunity to start looking for bottoms. If stuff gets really ugly and we just don't hold this, that would be kind of the second zone down here where I'd be looking for a bottom. Don't want to be late to the party, right? People that were late to the party down here calling for 8K, right? Not even 12 to 14K, but like 8K. Valid target? Sure, right? 12 to 14K, valid target? Yes, but that doesn't mean you ignore the signals on the chart. That's why I love the charts, right? You listen to someone say, wait till 30K to buy. Well, guess what? What happens if you bounce here, right? You're going to wind up buying on the way up, which if you're new to crypto and you were buying on this way up, you already felt that pain, right? You don't want to be in that situation again. This is where the opportunity is, right? Not up here. You don't want to be late to the tops. You don't want to be late to the bottoms. Let's see. I think we go to 69K. Look at the liquidity. Makes sense. We would go to 68K. Just leave the liquidity there, then continue pushing down. But anything can happen. Yeah. Shout out to the Freedom Project. Yeah. I think both things could be true at the same time, right? It's like it would make sense to come grab the liquidity. And I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up because they think TA gives you like a guaranteed, like, oh, we have liquidity up there. We have to go up there. That's a way that a lot of people look at CME gaps. Like down here, I think we had in 2018, in 2021, I think we did have a CME gap down at like 3K or something. And people were like, you have to fill the CME gap at 3K. Well, it's like if you got to move down there and you got closer to the CME gap, like maybe it would make sense for that to fill. But again, right, anything can happen. And of course, a lot of times you could see those signals on the chart. So yeah, like would it be, impossible to leave the liquidity behind? No. If we did get back up to 68K, there is a lot of liquidity up there as we just looked at. Right? There's a lot of liquidity there. But it doesn't mean that you can't continue to push down. If we got closer to that, I'd be like, okay, well, hey, what do we know about liquidity, right? Well, it does act as a magnet for price, but the way I look at it, right, is if you have liquidity sitting all the way up here, right, it's not like, oh, that's a magnet, we have to go there, right? As you get closer to, it's the same thing here, right? Like if we get the push up, the closer we get to that liquidity, the stronger the magnet becomes, right? It's like an actual magnet. Right? If you hold a magnet here and a magnet here and you hold them this way, they're not really attracted to each other. But the closer they get, boom, then they snap together. That's how I look at liquidity, right? So how do I handle that from a trading perspective? It's like, well, hey, if I know I have liquidity sitting up here, if price continues to creep up, right, sweep, then I can look for the sweep. Or a short squeeze, right? It's essentially what a liquidity sweep is. It's like a little short squeeze. The SFP, or the way we would short a liquidity sweep, is to wait for the wick back down below the key level, right? I have a tutorial on the channel to show you guys how to trade SFPs, obviously. Let's see. Shout out to Tower61. Said, great show, Frankie. Shout out to Tower61. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. Let's see. Precious Bitcoin digital gold. Shout out to Leno. Yeah. I think, I don't know. Unless digital gold moves inverse to actual gold. I don't know. But yeah, I obviously, guys, like long term, I don't want anyone who's like new to the channel. Long term, I believe this is kind of the question you have to ask yourself, because I know buying on massive dips, any bear market has been difficult for me personally to buy, right? Doesn't mean I didn't buy it, but it is difficult, right? Because not only do you oftentimes have a lot of fear in the market, everyone calling for lower prices. This is why, like, I recommend trying to do like social media cleanses. I know a lot of people get their information from social media, but down here, there's just like the fear is insane. Terra Luna collapses. And then, like, as people, like, they kind of get bored, and then another terrible event. Oh, my God, right? This is very difficult, right? Because the asset feels like, oh, my God, how much worse can this even, like, this is just as bad as possible. Luna goes down. FTX goes down. Huge exchange. Oh, my God. Celebrity endorsements. How could this be happening? It's literally the bottom. So what I like to ask myself is, you have to have a long-term perspective. And, the charts actually kind of help with this, right? Because we pull up those high time frame moving averages. We pull up the 50-week. Whoops. We pull up the 100-week, the 200-week, and this is kind of what I covered last week. Week. Anytime we play with these levels, Bitcoin is essentially cheap, right? Playing with them here, it was cheap. Didn't matter if you bought the bottom or you bought the top of those moving averages, you're in for a massive bull run. Here, doesn't matter if you're buying down here, up here, right? You're in for a massive bull run. Here, right? Doesn't matter if you're buying here, up here. You're in for a massive bull run. And that's why DCA is the way, in my opinion. Because it kind of takes the fear out of buying, because you're just kind of like, I expect, right, having a long-term view, in my opinion, right, whether we bottom out somewhere here and go up, or we go down to 30K, right? You have to ask yourself this question, have a long-term mindset. And instead of trying to snipe the bottom, right? I know it seems so simple, just buy low, sell high, right? Easy to say in hindsight. But when you're in the heat of the moment, right, it's very difficult, right? It was very when I was buying down here, I was talking to my dad. I was like, I feel like an idiot. I'm like buying. Then FTX collapses. I'm like, oh my God, is this going to cause another massive dump? But at the end of the day, I see the bull div. I continue to DCA. The bottom is likely in, and it winds up being correct, right? And in the end, right, like when you're playing with these moving averages, price is pretty cheap. Whether you hold them, like we did in 2018, right, or you have to deviate below them, like you're not going to snipe the bottom every single time. So ask yourself this question. Do I believe that buying some Bitcoin at between 60 and 50K, do I believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, Bitcoin will be back above 50 to 60K? In my opinion, I do believe that. Even if it has to go below that level first, I do believe in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be higher than that, right? Just like Bitcoin does every time. Massive fear, massive highs. Massive fear, massive highs. Massive fear, massive highs. Massive fear. Eventually, I do believe over time, Bitcoin will go up, right? I'm not going to, fundamentally, Bitcoin is bullish, right? I don't make my day trading thoughts on that, right? Or my day trading decisions based off that. But like my long-term investments are completely different. I have a much longer-term outlook on my long-term investments. So you kind of have to ask yourself that question, right? And don't miss the forest for the trees, right? Oh, I don't want to buy. I bought here or whatever it is. I bought here. We're dumping. I'm going to sell it and buy it lower. Then you buy it here. I'm a genius. Wait, now we're going lower. Then you sell it, you buy it. Dollar cost average is the way, in my opinion, right? Because again, long-term thought process, right? And of course, the 4-year cycles make it kind of comfortable to kind of view this, right? It's like, come on over to the cycle chart here. Right? Having massive bull run. Oh my God, Bitcoin's dead. Having bull run. Oh my God, Bitcoin's dead. Having bull run. You got the all-time high before the halving this time. But, in my opinion, right, not unlikely for that to just continue to repeat, right? It's not just the 4-year cycle. It's the business cycle. It's the overall liquidity cycle. And, of course, we kind of confirm that with the charts, right? So you can kind of just ask yourself, like, looking at the 200-week moving average, it's like it would be beautiful to come play around with this. It's never been a bad time to buy Bitcoin around the 200-week moving average, right? You might say, well, that was a bad time to buy. Not really, right? If you bought here and then you just let's say you bought your whole bag here at the 200-week moving average, you still would have been able to capitalize on a 476% move to the upside, right? If you were just waiting to put your whole bag in, which I don't recommend, right? If we tap this, you put your whole bag in, even if we deviate below it, eventually Bitcoin is going to go up and to the right, in my opinion. Not financial advice, of course, right? Obviously, Bitcoin can go to zero. Who knows? But that's just kind of my personal thought process. Let's see. DGen's Diamond Hands. Remember those days? Shout out to Leno. Yeah. If only the market cared. Well, actually, I guess from a long enough time horizon, I guess Diamond Hands do end up on top, right? You even buy top of a bull run all the way back here, right? Diamond Hands, Diamond Hands, Diamond Hands. You're an idiot until you're not, right? Diamond Hands, Diamond Hands, Diamond Hands. So yeah. I hope BTC goes to 40K. Buying every month, long-term view here. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Arvix. Let's enjoy the drop. Yeah, well, we have enjoyed the drop so far. Literally shorted both of these huge legs down. Boop. Got the 98K shorts. Boop. Again, another bull run. Flip the chart upside down. We make money whether price goes up or down. Obviously, bull markets are great because your spot bags are going up as well. But of course, right, from a trading perspective, you know how to short the market. This move down is sometimes just as profitable as a long-in that moves up. Just invert the scale. Even brought this up on the live stream, guys. Like, if we had been seeing massive bullish divergences, right, flipping markets A for B upside down as well, right, what does this look like? I think this helps people understand the charts a little bit. No one wants to hear me talk about losing 108K, indicating 126K was the top, right? But if you just flip the chart upside down, right, I'm a slave to whatever the charts tell me. So if you literally invert that chart, I would have no choice but to be bullish. Lower lows on price, higher lows on your momentum waves on the weekly time frame with money flow in the red crossing into the green. I would have to be massively bullish looking for something like this, price going up, right? But of course, you just reinvert the charts. These are massive bearish divergences with money flow coming out, indicating a massive move down. The beautiful thing is, just like you can long the massive bull divs for the move up, you could short the massive bear divs for the move down and make a ton of money doing it. Being a trader feels like cheating, to be honest. Bull market, bear market, doesn't matter. We make money in the chop. We make money on the dumps. We make money on the pumps. What if you don't have to wait for the bull market to make money? Hit 55K, get the bull div. Yeah, shout out to someone said, where's the bull div? Hopefully, we can get it on the daily. That is where the bull div would be if we can get it. That's what I'm waiting for. Let's see. Bitcoin always has a zero in its price. So what are you talking about? Shout out to TRB. Not sure what that was in reference to. Metals are for today, BTC for tomorrow. Hey, usually it's the other way around. BTC usually getting the big aggressive moves, but of course, metals. Let's take a look at gold real quick. Where are we at? Gold just, whew. Talk about a bull run. Parabolic. That is a parabola, baby. What are my money flow settings on Market Cipher B? My money flow settings are default on Market Cipher B. What's the animal for sideways? Elephant? Crab? I guess it would be like the traditional one. Bull market, bear market, crab market, kangaroo market. But yeah, I would say bear market overall. More locally. Choppy. Choppy, choppy, choppy. Can we expect a short squeeze to 88K? I wouldn't be looking for the short squeeze to 88K until we're able to crack above 72,000. Probably about 72,000 this daily MPOC. 72,600. Get above there. I think that's where you put all the shorts in massive pressure, right? Start pushing up here. Start cracking these highs. I think that's where you can see the bigger short squeeze. We've kind of covered this from a volume perspective as well. Right, the exact same way we were able to call the beautiful dump to the downside and capitalize and make a ton of money on this through the low volume gap. Come on, volume. There we go. Right, once you're able to get out of this volume, start cracking these highs, right, you still have this kind of low volume gap. You have a couple spikes up here for local levels, but at the end of the day, high volume up here, high volume down here. Once you break into this gap, I think that's your best bet for a bigger short squeeze up toward these bigger levels here, right? So I wouldn't necessarily expect a short squeeze right now. Be nice if it would happen, but I would say not really until you crack out of that bigger low volume gap. And then where does that high volume node bring you, right? If you were to mark out this gap, right? 86, obviously up into about almost 90K, 88 to 90K. This would be your gap. Just like literally like clockwork. Break these lows. We expect the fast drop down into our major levels of key support, which we're all sitting in here. Massive volume. Here we are, right? Massive gap. Same thing here, even locally. Crack these highs. You could start that short squeeze, also putting you in the low volume environment that, just like it facilitates a fast drop down, not only could you have the short squeeze indicating a fast rip up, but you also have this low volume environment. When you have these low volume gaps, price moves very quickly through them. So there you go. Shout out to Pittin. Says, is the money flow on Vu Manchu as reliable on Market Cipher? It's different. I look at Market Cipher's money flow, so if you see a discrepancy between the two indicators, right, that's why. It's just you're not looking at the same indicator. It's like with anything, right? Like, is it as reliable? I don't know, right? Sometimes one indicator will fake out, another indicator won't fake out. And then maybe when the other indicator's faking out, the other one won't fake out. They're just different, right? So I would just view that as like if you're seeing money flow not doing the same thing that I'm seeing it do, it's just because you're looking at a different indicator. But I would say, Market Cipher is the reliable money flow that I personally look at. How is money flow calculated? Does it work on NASDAQ? Shout out to Matt did. Yeah, money flow will 100% work on NASDAQ. Obviously, all assets move differently. I'm personally used to, who was I talking to this about? Someone was asking, like, do I ever trade stocks? Not really, at least from, like, a day trading perspective. I'm used to, right? Like, I have my thumb on the pulse of Bitcoin and crypto. I'm used to the massive volatility. Obviously, the stock market doesn't move with as much volatility as Bitcoin. So it will work. Something you'll see on the stock market is obviously like the money flow won't oscillate as much. It'll take longer for crossovers to happen just because it's a less volatile asset. But it will 100%, you would treat it the same way, right? Like money flow crossover into the red would indicate that you're about to see probably a downtrend on price. So it would work exactly the same. I don't know how it's calculated personally. I wish I did. But yeah. It will 100%. It works on any asset. Gold, right? Like when we take a look at gold, right? I would view this the same way, right? If you look at your high time frame money flow, right? Here's a weekly money flow crossover into the green. This is a high time frame signal that you could cause a massive weekly uptrend. What happens? Massive weekly uptrend, super thick money flow. Try to find like a big dump on gold. Same thing. And you can see on gold, it's even like more slowly moving, right? This money flow crossover on the weekly lasted 3,800 days. So massive, massive, massive long money flow wave. But what happens once it starts crossing red? At that point, you're anticipating lower highs, lower lows, and eventually you start a much bigger downtrend, right? So it would work exactly the same, but every asset moves kind of differently. Let's see. Shout out to TRB is asking a question. Can you teach us how to use these indicators? Shout out to TRB. Yeah, check out the YouTube channel. Check out the beginner series specifically. The beginner series will show you exactly how I do my TA, how I use all the indicators that I use, how I use the volume profiles, how I use Market Cipher B. Not only how to pull them, how to use them, how to look at the price through a volume perspective, but also like exactly how I trade this stuff. So definitely check that out. Shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you. Says, hi, GOAT. Always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to have you, bro. He says, is there a reason why you are interested in 59K to 55K area because of the macro golden pocket from 15K to 126K? Well, let me pull it up here for you real quick. There's a bunch of reasons why I'm interested in it, right? Number one, take off your volume profiles, take off everything, right? Take a look at it from a weekly perspective, right? I mean, there's like a million reasons to look at it, but at the end of the day, right, all your significant high time frame levels all sit within there, right? Your next high time frame levels to the downside. There's no high time frame levels right now until 59 or 58 to 55K, right? So number one, where's the support on this chart? It's right here, right? Number two, volume. Massive high volume node. Number three, 2021 value area high. Sits right in there as well, right? So even more. And then the golden pocket, if you want to pull it from 15K to 126K, well, look at that, right? Even more confluence. So yes, this would 100% be another reason to be looking at this level, right? Not a huge, I mean, not even that is not a huge reason, but I don't really talk about the golden pocket being there very much just because there's so much other stuff in here. But yes, absolutely that golden pocket would add confluence to that level. Shout out to Zach. Let's see. Oh, shout out to TRB. Said, I really broke all my accounts. I need to get back all my accounts quick. Shout out to TRB. That is a dangerous thing. If you are, anytime you feel any kind of like a, I've had people come into the live stream. I don't know your exact situation here, but if you're ever in a situation where you feel like you've kind of destroyed an account, you need to get it back really fast. That is not a good mindset to go into trading with, right? It's kind of like I've had people come in here and be like, hey, where should I take a trade? I need to make money really fast. I need money for this thing. And I'm like, do it somewhere else. Don't do it through trading. Because like if you have this urgency to make money, it is like the worst way to get into trading. So I wouldn't even really view it by like, I need to get the money back really fast. It doesn't mean you don't need the money really fast. But I would be very careful trying to recoup money really fast in an urgent manner through trading, right? Because let's just say your next big levels are all the way down here and all the way up here, right? Of course, you have the local levels as well. But if the real higher probability levels are kind of far away and in between those two levels are really low probability trading and you need money urgently, you're going to wind up forcing trades in a low probability environment, right? You kind of have to trade the market that you're given, right? Sometimes you're in a really clean volume profile. You can catch a bunch of trades. Sometimes you're in an impulse. And, me personally, it's very dangerous to take, let's just say you need to make money really fast here. The market's really bearish. And you try to FOMO short here. I need money now. Let me short it. It's going down, right? You're going to wind up chopping yourself up trying to take low probability trades. I kind of caught like the gist of that conversation, so I don't know exactly what you mean. But I would just be really careful. Anytime someone's like, I need money now, where should I trade? Like, that's a really, really quick way to lose and put yourself in an even worse situation. Shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat again, brother. He says, if you know all of that and we know all of that, what if they do max pain and we never reach that area? We bounce from higher, like 64 to 62.3 or 64.3 to 62.3. I don't know exactly what you mean by that necessarily. Yeah, I don't. Shout out to Zach. I'm not sure if I 100% understand that. Oh, if we get a bounce from higher. I thought you meant like if they bring it up here first. I'm like, I don't know if this would be max pain. Yeah, I covered this on last week's live streams, right? At the end of the day, right, there's no saying, right, we don't have massive bottom signals, right? Sometimes we covered this on the previous bear markets, right? 2021 and 2017 gave us, right, 2021 was super clean, right? Clear weekly bullish divergence. At the end of the day, right, you're never going to be able to spot on nail it, right? At the end of the day, when we got this first drop down, I preferred to see a weekly bull div form. I wound up getting my way. The market's not always going to give you your way, right? At the end of the day, right, the bottom could have been in here, right? And we could have continued up and gotten a big move, right? Not that I would expect the bull market to happen that fast, but the bottom could have been in here, right? Luckily, we got the bull div. It was nice and clean. It was like a perfect scenario. 2018, right, we ended up getting a daily bull div, right? Technically, the bottom could have been in right here, and we could have just never gone back down to the lows, right? And then we just recover. Luckily, we came down, we put in the daily bull div, right? There's like you're never going to be able to guess exactly what's going to happen, right? You could have your probabilities that you're looking at, but at the end of the day, anything can happen, right? But what happens? We take out the low, we get the beautiful daily bullish divergence, right? At that point, there's your bull div, nice high time frame bottom signal. You also had plenty of time to enter the market here before eventually getting the big pop up, sign of strength, and the big bull run. So you got bull divs in 2017, you got 2018, you got bull divs in 2021. But when you go back to something like 2014 or 2015, right, you just get the big capitulation, bottoms in, right? You could try to catch the knife, right? But again, this is why I don't for long-term bags, right? I don't like to just like throw my whole bag in at one time. I like to dollar cost average, right? Because like, what if, right? There's always going to be a what if. What if they don't bring it down that far? What if they bring it up from here? What if they go down lower than your target, right? This is why dollar cost averaging is so important. Like everyone and their grandma is going to try to do the impossible, right? Which is just bottom tick, the tick bottom, right? This is very difficult to do with high probabilities. But what happens here, right? It doesn't mean that if you don't buy your bag here, you're not going to be able to position yourself for the bull market, right? When it comes to long-term spot bags, this is why I like DCAing. In this case, the bottom's in on the big capitulation. This might be the case, right? I prefer, right? Doesn't mean it has to happen. I prefer to see the daily bull div at least, right? Or some kind of, even if we get the daily bull div and the bottom's not in, right? Some kind of longer term, higher time frame bottom to come in, right? You might not get that. And if it plays out like 2015, I'll just pull the fractal to make it kind of easy to digest. Right? Let's just say, I'll kind of resize this a little bit. All right, we'll just kind of line it up like this, right? Maybe the bottom's in. At that point, right, it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't matter, right? Because if you dollar cost average into the market, right, you don't have to catch the tick bottom. So anything can happen. In my opinion, like it's, if this is the case, right, maybe we consolidate here, right? And what happened in 2015 was essentially, at that point, what happens, right? The big sign for me is the weekly money flow crossover into the green, which is marked out, crossover into the red here on the horizontal line, crossover into the green right here on the horizontal line. So bottom comes in, oh my God, I missed the bottom, right? Well, guess what? If you're dollar cost averaging, right, maybe you were dollar cost averaging early. Maybe you hit here, you started dollar cost averaging, you kept dollar cost averaging, kept dollar cost averaging, kept dollar cost averaging, and then once you start getting the sign of strength, you're either looking for the bottom signal, right, or the bottom, I don't want to say signal, but like a bottom entry, right, or bottom confirmation, maybe. Or if it just comes in on a capitulation like this, you have no choice but to wait for a sign of strength, which in my opinion is either going to be flips of very important moving averages, such as the bull market support band, right here, you fake out above, you come back down, eventually you reclaim it. But look at that weekly money flow crossover, right? Let's say you don't buy anything and you get the bottom here, right? The simple way to look at it, in my opinion, is it has historically been a good idea to dollar cost average into Bitcoin when money flow is in the red on the weekly, right? Not about calling the bottom, catching the tick bottom. Money flow crosses red, you start to dollar cost average. You start to dollar cost average. You buy a little bit up here, right? Moves down. You dollar cost average. Your average entry price wiggles down, right? And then once money flow crosses green, every single time a 100% hit rate, every time money flow crosses green, the bottom has been in. At that point, right, again, you don't have significant bullish divergences here, but look at your money flow. Crosses into the green. There's your sign of strength, right? You flip the bull market support band. You flip all your high time frame moving averages. There's like two ways, right? You don't always get the bottom signal. If we had a weekly bull div down here, right, let's say price bounced, put in a lower low, you had the weekly bull div. Now you can say, hey, this is a high probability that this could be the bottom, especially if money flow starts coming up. But you don't always get that. That could be the case this cycle. Who knows? Whether it's the capitulation that the bottom's in already, or whether we get another low and there's no bull div and we just get another big capitulation and the bottom comes in. There's two ways that could play out. You're either going to get the signal, right? But again, that signal is not telling you, right? Let's say we get a weekly bull div here. That's not saying buy now, right? That's just saying, hey, bottom's probably in. I don't, like back here, I didn't use this signal to start buying, right? I used the weekly money flow crossing into the red after the first big capitulation down to start dollar cost averaging. I was already in the market and during the moves to the downside continuing to buy. Then when the weekly bull div formed, I said, hey, now it's likely that if we get a push up here and money flow starts trending up, that the bottom is in, right? Weekly money flow cross green, bottom's in, flip the bull market support band, bull run. So you're not using the confirmations as signals to buy. You're using them as a signal that the bottom is in, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. I get it. Even with TA, that is so obvious that area is the mother support. They might not go there. Maybe deviate a bit and bounce like crazy towards 88K. Maybe. Definitely possible. My toilet has shout out to Dave Digital. Says my toilet has shoulder harnesses like a roller coaster. got to keep you down. Sometimes you get that. Sometimes you get that flow. You get that thrust. Shout out to Dave Digital. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything up here. Shout out to Jake from Reddit. Says, my alts are cooked. Not laughing at you, but I just know I'm feeling pain on a lot of my alts as well. I'll see them in a few years, I guess. Yeah, hopefully, Jake. Again, this is like another thing that you can think about when it comes to positioning yourself. A lot of my alts, right, are completely decimated. But again, from my portfolio percentage-wise was much heavier in Bitcoin and high market cap altcoins than they were on a lot of the. I know a lot of people get into crypto and they just like watch all those videos that's like, this is the next altcoin to 100x, and they just like load up and then like they either don't do anything or they pump a little bit and they go to zero. That's okay, right? Like it's okay to take some risks on some lower cap altcoins. You can make a lot of money that way, or at least previously people have been able to make a lot of money like that. I've made a lot of money like that. But in my opinion, right, always, and this is the reason people struggle with this is because if you tell them, right, I always tell people, like when my personal friends and family ask me like, what altcoin should I buy? I'm like, well, first off, you should position yourself much heavier in Bitcoin and like, if you want, higher market cap altcoins. And then they think to themselves, well, if this one's going to 100x, why would I only want to put a little bit of my money in it? The reason for that is because it's much higher risk. And what people do is they just sit there and they go, well, they understand it, right? Most people understand that. They're like, yeah, that is safer, but I don't care, right? I just want to get rich really fast. And if I put 25% of my portfolio in higher risk altcoins, and then the rest of it's just in boring old Bitcoin, sure, I'll make some money on Bitcoin, but way less than if I put all my money in those altcoins. That is a risk allocation issue, right? So like the reason I'm not in like a super big amount of pain on my altcoins is because they're just a lower percentage of my portfolio, like a much lower percentage of my portfolio. Like if all those altcoins go to zero, yes, I mean, it kind of sucks, right? But I was still able to profit massively by positioning myself from like a portfolio weight perspective. So I think a lot of people feel that pain in their first cycle, maybe even their second cycle, where they might just over allocate to the wrong projects, right? It's high risk. It's also high reward. But that doesn't mean it's not high risk, right? So you just got to think about that moving into the next cycle, right? Like if that was a mistake you made this cycle, maybe remember that moving back into the next cycle. That's kind of the best advice I can give. Not financial advice, of course. Vegas Claw in the chat. What is going on, bro? Welcome in. Welcome in. Let's see. My peak bags. Yeah, shout out to Indian Martini. Yeah, my peak bags are, they're sweating. Shout out to Mark Dutch in the chat. Said Vegas Claw is the kind of guy to eat Mexican food before he starts gaslighting. Shout out to Vegas Claw. Is he hitting us with Drake memes? Where's it at? Where are they at? Yeah, shout out to Lyndon. Yeah, high risk equals high reward. High risk equals high losses. Absolutely. Shout out to TRP. Said, no, we need financial advice. Not financial advice, guys. I said this to somebody in the premium Discord. Not financial advice, guys. I used to eat crayons when I was a kid. But yeah, let's zoom in here a little bit. You got anything happening here? Or are we just kind of sitting there? Yeah, of course, we're just sitting here. Looking to print a 15-minute red dot. Maybe get a little bit of a pullback. 30-minute red dot. 2-hour green dot printing. See that 7-minute money flow trying to cross into the green. Again, I don't really want to like harp too much on these market cipher B116 strategies right now just because we're in such a choppy environment. But technically, 7-minute money flow crossover into the green with that 2-hour green dot printing. Still got another hour to confirm this, but you have the bull div, 2-hour green dot. If that 7-minute money flow starts crossing into the green, you could look at that as a market cipher B116 strategy for a potential continuation of that uptrend. Again, I don't want to harp too much on that just because low probability environments may make that a little bit sketchier, right? But at the end of the day, that is technically on the charts. But yeah, let's take a quick look at I'm not going to look at like every altcoin here, guys, again, as I've kind of talked about recently, not spending a ton of time on the altcoins right now. But we can take a look at Ethereum, because I'll take a look at the big boys here. Ethereum, where is my... Oh, this is the ETH chart. Okay, so let's take off that bull market support band real quick. So, of course, right, we look at this all last week. Chopping around the value area high. We could not get out. At the end of the day here, right, we are approaching local daily level. But the bigger support, right, this is more similar to Bitcoin's kind of low probability, in my opinion at least. We're tapping into the golden pocket on Bitcoin. 786 is sitting down here at about 1829 on Ethereum. Daily, 786 confluence. That's your biggest key level of support. This is kind of the last chance for Ethereum to bounce, in my opinion, before looking to take out this low. If we take out that low, unless you get some kind of SFP, like beautiful swing failure pattern down there, the next key level of support sits down here towards the point of control of the range. And from a volume profile perspective, you deviated above or you came in, right, played around with the value area high, couldn't get out. If you lose that 786, it invalidates the idea of a low, high, higher, low, higher, high. That's the line in the sand right there, 1820, right? Lose this, I'm looking to take out that low. And again, the next big level of support sits down here between about 1647 and 1576. I haven't really been covering this a lot lately just because ever since we got down here, like this has literally been the scenario forever, right? Like since we wound up putting in this high. Got a little bounce off the golden pocket, right? I don't look for these to ever really hold up 2 times, right? You have a low, a high. You want to see the bounce off that golden pocket here, right? We got it. It ended in a lower high. 786, technically another area to look for a higher low. I see that as a little bit lower probability, but at the end of the day, it is a Fibonacci retracement. But what I can say is this would be the line in the sand in order to look to come take out this low. If you lose this, I look to take this, right? And then again, low time frame, you can look for potential SFPs down here. Not financial advice, of course. But at the end of the day, within the volume profile, I prefer, just like on Bitcoin, to see the low get taken out and push into the bigger levels of support. It would be the same thing on Ethereum. Take out this low, your bigger levels of support are sitting down here. Taking a look at this on the daily, money flow still in the red. Daily rot. Looks like daily rot. Daily red dot also printing. 90-minute money flow also in the red. Pretty choppy here recently, but, higher time frame here. Still prefer, these are it's just not a lot of confluence down here. It's just like a daily and a 786. There's no high time frame levels down there. Can you call Satoshi and tell him we need an emergency pumpage? Shout out to Bailey. I'll make a call to Satoshi right after we end the stream, for sure. So no long on the bull div. Shout out to OCB. I can't tell you where to long. On Ethereum, we haven't hit the 786. I mean, from a simple perspective, it's kind of hard, right? Because we hit this golden pocket so long ago. So like this is your support locally, right? Again, these are local levels. I prefer the bigger drop down. I can't guarantee we're going to get that, right? But, when you're looking at the lower time frames here, let me just double check this. Okay. So you got a bull div here, and, not all bull divs are created equal, right? A bull div typically gives you a bounce. Technically, you confirmed it here. You technically got a bounce. But you don't just want to blindly long bull divs and bear divs, right? Context and confluence is very important. Anytime you see a bull div, it's very high probability, in my opinion, or not my opinion, but in my experience. Anytime you see a bull div, right, chances are you're going to get some kind of a move up. Now, whether that move is something like that or something like that is reliant on the context, right? If you have money flow coming out, if you have high time frame red dots, chances are, right, especially with money flow coming out, that it's not going to be a massive bounce. You want confluence, right? If I wanted to see a massively huge bounce from this level, like, again, being inside this volume profile also makes it very difficult because deviate above the highs, like at this point, you're pretty accepted into this volume profile, right? Like it just makes that POC has a magnetic nature to it. So even if you take the range off the chart, and you're just looking at this from a Fibonacci perspective, if you were to get a massive bounce here, like, yes, you have the bull divs, but look at your money flow, right? Money flow is in the green. It's trending out. It's also very choppy. It just makes it a very, again, low probability environment, right? When you see all the time frames hitting each other and following each other like dominoes, it makes it a higher probability environment, right? A higher probability trade. You have multiple things pointing in the right direction. Here, you have a daily bull div, or I'm sorry, a 90-minute bull div, right? Technically into your zone of support, right? But your money flow is not, you don't have a nice, beautiful red wave on the trend down with a beautiful crossover into the green with a daily green dot, right? That would give you much more confluence. You have a daily bull div, but money flows in the red. I mean, you have a 90-minute bull div, but 90-minute money flows in the red. You have a 90-minute bull div, but you have a daily red dot with the 90-minute money flow coming out, which is technically a bearish signal, right? You have the 2-day VWAP rolling over, right? It's not like you have all these time frames lining up. Now, I can't guarantee that you won't get a big bounce there. It's just lower probability, right? It's a probability game, not a prediction game. If you jump on the charts and you say, this is the level, this is where we're going to bounce here, right? Unless you're saying this is where I think there's a high probability to do, whatever you're looking for to happen, but there's also a chance for it to play out. Like, even if we do come down for Bitcoin, if we do come down into that 58 to 55K level, right? This is a very good place, if we get the daily bull divs, to look for a bigger bounce. It is never, from my perspective, looked at as, this is the place to bounce, this is the daily bull div, this is where you're going to buy, this is when that's going to happen right after, right? Because I've been trading long enough, I've been in this market long enough to understand that even the best traders in the world, if you ask any real trader, they're never going to tell you a secret level that's going to be the guaranteed bounce 100% trade, right? 100% guaranteed trade. It does not exist. And if someone gives you that answer, right, it's going to, like, you ask the best traders in the world, they're going to give you a probability viewpoint. Not, this is the key level, everyone else is an idiot, this is where this happens, right? Now, again, anytime we make any of these big calls, like here, looking for the lower high, literally still holding a short from 98K, expecting this exact move down. When we're up here, it's never, this is the exact level, we're going down here, 100% guaranteed. No, you have to take everything into account and then understand the higher probability, right? And then that's what I go for, right? We're making a higher low. Technically, you can look at that as bullish. Technically, you have a lower low on your momentum waves. Technically, that's a bullish divergence, right? Yes, you get a little bit of a bounce, but not all bounces are created equal. Money flow is coming out. You're expecting a lower high and a lower low. On top of all the other confluences, we had like our list of bearish probabilities were like this. The chances of this bouncing to new all-time highs, the bullish list was like, I don't know, this time is different. Hit the like button, right? Like, there was just like no real case I could build here for a new all-time high, which made it higher probability for a continuation down. But at the end of the day, anything could have happened, right? You could have gotten some kind of crazy black swan news that pushed you to the upside. Bullish black swan, right? But again, it's higher probability. You have to look at it from a probability perspective. And you're not getting cooked if your probabilities don't play out, right? Your probabilities sometimes won't play out. What would happen here? Well, technically, I would have gotten stopped out for a small loss, and my long from 85K would have continued to pay me out, right? So you can't always look for, and it goes the same for like low time frame levels, right? Like, I can't really say that there's like a beautiful setup here for a massive bounce. It's just not on the chart. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just a probability, right? Probabilities can be wrong. That's the name of the game. That's why I always say risk management is the most important part of trading. Like, I don't win every single trade. Not every single trade I take is a massive move. That's why context is important, right? Like, when we take scalp trades, they're viewed as scalp trades, which have earlier take profits, earlier stop loss to break even levels, and you're viewing, like, you can take a long, right? Even if you're expecting a bounce here and you're looking for a lower high and a lower low, you could still make money on that bounce. But you have to know, right, and identify if the higher probability is a move to the downside. If so, sure, you can still take the long if you get the signals, right? But you just understand that the higher probability, it's probably going to be a lackluster bounce for a rollover to the upside. If it winds up playing out in a bigger move, well, that's great, right? But you have to think about that stuff, right? There's no... even if we come down to this level, there's no guarantee that this is going to hold and give you a massive bounce, that this is going to be the bottom, right? At the end of the day, you could come down here, support could not hold, and we can break down and go lower. You are never going to find something ever in your trading journey, no matter how many years you trade, there's never going to be a situation where you're going to be like, that's the level, that's where I'm going to buy, and it's going to feel good, and it's going to be guaranteed. You could feel confident, but it's never going to be guaranteed, right? There's no way around having to manage the risk. There's no way around getting into a trade and having a possibility that it's not going to play out. There's no way around that. You can't escape it, right? Doesn't matter how long you trade, doesn't matter how good your strategy is. You could be very confident, right? Like I've had many beautiful A-plus setups play out way less than I thought they would and roll over. Does that mean it's a bad setup? No. Does it mean the strategy doesn't work? No. It just means that there's, probability on a strategy is never 100%, right? Even good strategies could be like 50, maybe 60, 70%. Really what gives you the increase in your P&L is understanding context, understanding when those setups are better. When you see those setups, sometimes they're better than others based off your context. There's no way around understanding the context of the market, understanding market structure, understanding what environments you should be shorting the highs, what environments you should be longing the lows. There's no way around learning any of that. There's no strategy that you can get that's just going to give you a signal, give you a beautiful setup, and it's going to play out every time. A lot of people chase that, right? Because they're sold online that trading's as easy as just, like even me, right? I have my trap set. My trap's down here, right? That does not mean, right? If I take this trade, right? Let's just say we come down here, we get a beautiful entry, stop loss below the support, and there's a chance that we can get a big swing up to 88K. Let's just say it's an A-plus setup, right? There's still some probability, right? It's not 0%. High probability does not equal 100%, right? There's still a probability that this can happen, right? But the key is to not get wrecked here. Right? Most people are looking for this is the best level. I'm going to make a bigger stop loss. I'm going to risk way more. I'm not going to set a stop loss because they think they figured something out. It's a fallacy, right? This could happen. If that happens, guess what? I will take a small loss against a much bigger reward that I could have had. I will take the small loss. And also a little bit cushy here because I'm still holding my shorts from higher. My shorts will continue to pay me out. And then I just look at the next levels. Right, and then maybe in between there, right, we're looking for like little scalps on the lower time frames. But in when we're coming down like this, even when we're coming up here, right, everyone's like, oh, this is the top. This has to be the top. This has to be the top, right? Or even here, right? Like when I came up here and said 126K was very likely the top, it was not as we tapped 126K. I didn't even have a level at 126K saying that's going to be the top. There's no way to know. You need to be able to understand how to read the market. Right, price comes down, we get the push up, we have money flow coming out on all the higher time frames, making this a higher probability lower high for a lower low. We also understood that we had a massive value area underneath 108K, all the way down to about 90K, and there was a high probability with money flow coming out, deviation above the high, that once we lost that $108,000 level, we'd see a fast drop down here. That's how we caught that short position. That was the higher probability, and from a higher time frame, with the weekly money flow coming out, with the 2-day, 3-day, 4-day money flow coming out, with the timing of the cycle, with the high time frame weekly bearish divergences, it was very likely that we were going to start a much more massive downtrend, right? Bear market. It wasn't up here. It wasn't until we saw the actual price action play out and we read the information live that we said, hey, now we can say, 126K could be the top. Not at the tippy top, right? Don't ever look for that. Like, where's the level where the top is going to be? It's a nightmare waiting to happen. I promise you. I've been through it, right? I say all this from experience, right? It's not like I've always known how to do this. It's taken years and years and years and years and years of doing this to understand that. It was the same thing back in 2021. I did not say, I didn't have my channel back here, but I wasn't, oh my God, 69K got tapped. That was my target. The top is in. Sell my whole bag. It was super easy. Now I'm just going to wait for 15,700 to buy back in. It's not that easy, right? You have to let price fall. Everyone panics. Where's the bottom? Oh my God, what do we do here? Oh my God, what's the thing? You just got to take a deep breath, right? You start bearishly consolidating. Weekly money flow starts coming out. Hey, 69K is probably the bottom. Bear market incoming. Look for the weekly money flow crossover. That's typically where you're going to look to dollar cost average in. You get the first big capitulation. Weekly money flows in the red. Dollar cost average, dollar cost average, dollar cost average, dollar cost average, dollar cost average. Weekly bull div, bottom's probably in. Weekly money flow starts trending back up. You flip the bull market support bands, get back into the range. Bull market. Beautiful entries there. Mine was about 21 to 22K. Or 20 to 21K, I think. Beautiful. I don't care that my entry wasn't 15K Okay. Like, am I tripping over missing this, right? And a lot of people are like, actually, shout out to, I forgot who said it. It's a great question, right? Because, like, these are questions I used to have. What if they don't send it down there? Well, it's okay, right? You don't have to snipe the exact bottom. Even when you get down here. If you think that if you wait for here, that's where you're going to have the confidence to just buy your whole bag, think again, right? You're going to probably be thinking like, oh, wow, it's dumping like crazy. Wow, I'm not going to buy this, right? That's why dollar cost averaging is so important, right? I would not care. Let's just assume the bottom comes in at 50K, right? 55K. I'm not going to care if I buy in right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. I don't care where my actual entry is, as long as I can get somewhere in at the bottom. When Bitcoin goes to $150,000, I'm not going to look back and say, oh man, my average entry price is 58K and not 47K. It doesn't matter, right? It's a long-term thought process, right? And that is the exact situation that I was in here, right? I wasn't looking back going, man, I wish my entry was at 15K. It was at 21K. I don't care, right? Back here, it seems massive. You're looking at that price action. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed the bottom. Look at this. Like, I didn't buy in here. Oh, I missed it. You got to zoom out. Right? This feels like, oh my God, I missed it. If you're buying up here, oh my God, I missed the bottom, right? Let some time go by. You didn't miss the bottom by almost anything, right? Very hard. Easy to talk about, easy to teach, very hard to execute. Most people know this already, right? Buy low, sell high. It's very hard to execute. Simple, not easy. Yeah, shout out to New Earth Guardian said, place separated DCA entries with controlled risk. Absolutely. Great advice, man. Yeah, shout out to Lion. Bet with your head, not over it. I like that. And shout out to Diaz says, Frankie, I know you don't chart with moving averages, but historically when we have a 3-day crossover of the 50 moving average crossing down on the 200 moving average, a bigger move down is what happens. We are close. Thoughts? Let's see. Let's pull up some moving averages. So what did he say? The fifth? Yeah. What? The 3-day. So let's see. So we got the 50 and the 200. Come on. We'll make the 200 gold on the 3-day. So when you have the 50 crossing down on the 200, let's see. Big move down. Let's get some history on this. Let's see. 50. Ooh. 50. So what can we say from this? It's that historically, it has been kind of that last free fall. I don't know. I do think we could be further along than this. But here you go. 50 crosses the 200, last big dump. 50 crosses the 200, last big dump. What I would personally take away from this, other than this, right? Well, not even, right? It's kind of that, I know we came down again for FTX, right? I know we came down a little bit more here, but what can we say? I'm going to mark off these crossovers. From a long-term perspective, whether you're here or here, right? Again, like back to don't miss the forest for the trees, right? It's the last dump, right? So, like, is the bottom in here? No, right? But once you get down to these levels, let's say you bought a little bag here, right? And then you're looking at dollar cost averaging on the way down. Now you buy a little bit here. Let's just say for simple math, 50%, 50%. You buy 50% of your bag here. You wait for another plunge, 50% here, right? Giving you an average entry price, excuse me, call it $258. When you zoom out to the 2017 bull run, would you care if you bought here, whoops, here, or here? Probably not. Massive gains to be had. Second time, the crossover happens, big dump to the downside. And again, you actually are right. This is not something that I typically look at, but we're just looking at past history, right? It is the case. Crosses over, last big dump to the downside. Would you care? Take 3-day. Would you care, right, if you bought a little bit here? Let's again 50-50. Again, I don't recommend that either. I would dollar cost average more than just one bag, two bag. But let's just say you buy here, and then you get another big drop, you buy here. Average entry price, split the difference, $23,000. Would you care that your entry, right? Let's put the position here on the chart. Your entry's here. Just to put it in perspective, right, with long-term moves. Do you care that you made 400% instead of 600%? It depends on how greedy you are, right? You're essentially buying the bottom, right? You are much better off, even if this does come in, right? Which, again, I kind of would like if we get one more last capitulation down, which would kind of line up with this if it does happen, right? I would like that next big drop to the downside. Whether you bought a little bit here and you buy a little bit lower, right? Again, not financial advice. I am not telling you to buy Bitcoin. I used to eat crayons when I was a kid, like I said. But we do have a funny way of being pretty close on this stuff. That would kind of line up with one more big capitulation down. But what is that? What do you not want to do at that point? Oh, my God, the bear market is just starting. What are you better off doing? Let's start looking for a bottom, right? Let's start viewing this as cheap prices. Let's start viewing this as cheap prices. Let's start viewing this as cheap prices, right? Not a bad time to start, even if you wanted to look at that, right? Not a bad time to start looking for DCAs. Again, don't miss the forest. Oh, I didn't get it at 15K. I got it at 21. Would it be nice if my average entry price was 15K? Yeah. But what if we didn't hit 15K and I had to buy all the way on the way back up, right? So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll put an alert on this, actually. Actually, I don't think, can I? I don't think I could put an alert on a crossover like that unless it was on like an indicator. I could have it cross the price, but that moving average is going to move. So, yeah, we'll see. It is definitely lines up with another big drop to the downside. Right? Maybe that drop is into our big zone. That'd be nice. I would just say all that kind of lines up with everything that we look at. Definitely would be confluence of some kind. Everybody's greedy. Shout out to Cigar Tachi. Absolutely. That is definitely true. Totally with you. I am currently weighted DCAing in now. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, shout out to Diaz. Love it, brother. Love it. Shout out to Cryptic Crabman. Said 7-minute red dot 2 hour. 7-minute red, 2 hour red. Still looks no bueno to me. Shout out to Cryptic Crabman. I think you're probably talking about the 116 strategy. Yeah, I would still put it, again, we'll see. We'll see if we get that crossover. It's technically the setup's there, but again, it's in a low probability environment. So I wouldn't really put that much weight on that being like a super high probability setup. Just wouldn't be surprising if it does cross over into the green, continue up, right? It's like it is there. If it happens, we could look for that. Do I think Cardano could be less than 20 cents in the bear market? Let's take a look at the chart. Let's see. Where are we at? Where's it at? There she is. So let's see here. Currently, bearishly backtesting the value area low. Just look at this real quick. I mean, really all you need to do there is take out the low to be back to 20 cents. But again, if the question is, will Cardano take out 20 cents because you're waiting? Again, I am just not even really going to touch many altcoins right now. But if the thought process here, just regardless of the chart you're looking at, is, is this going to go below 20 cents because I want to buy down here instead of potentially starting to buy here? Assuming, right, if you think, right, Cardano will go back up to new all-time highs, right? Even if you just wanted to look at the ranges back up to the value area high. If you're trying to figure out whether it's better to wait and buy at 20 cents, don't set your stop loss that low. Is it better to wait for Cardano to go back to 20 cents to buy, or if you should start buying right now? Again, I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or not, but just ask yourself this question. Are you going to care? Let's just assume, right? I'm not saying this is going to happen. Let's just say Cardano goes all-time highs. Are you going to care when you're up here if you bought in here or bought in here? Not really, right? Or at least I wouldn't. Again, if you're just waiting to get to the bottom tick low, it's a very dangerous game to play, because one day, if you wake up and it starts mooning, you're going to wind up buying much higher than just, like, you're always going to look back with regret and be like, man, I should have just bought. I got scared when it was low. Again, I'm not telling you to buy Cardano right now, but ask yourself those questions, because you have to have that long-term viewpoint, right? Like, do I think we could break this wick in the bear market? Yes, at the end of the day. I'm not saying it's guaranteed going to go down there, but I mean, it's not really that crazy of a dump, right? If Bitcoin goes back down to 55K, the chances of Cardano coming down here are pretty high, right? But that doesn't mean, again, also, you should never just look to some YouTuber. Not that I'm saying you're doing this, but if you're out there, right, you can never just look at a YouTuber. Like, this has a historically, I mean, if you do listen to, if you're going to use that as a way to make decisions, don't do that. But if you did, at least pay attention to someone that looks at a chart, whether it's me or not. But, like, I think most people, like, buy this altcoin, alt season incoming. Like, these people just keep getting wrecked and wrecked and wrecked and wrecked. And people still look for someone to tell them what altcoin to buy and where and when, instead of actually taking the time, because nobody really wants to take the time to learn how to actually do this, right? They just want someone, they want it to be as easy as someone telling them where to buy, where to sell, what coin to get. It's just not that easy, right? But could you go below 20 cents? I mean, yeah, I do think that is possible, especially if Bitcoin breaks down to 55K, right? So let's take a look at the weekly here real quick on Cardano. Yeah, you got a little weekly bull div of some kind. It's not the prettiest. Let's check the monthly money flow in the red. Yeah, I don't know. I am personally in a situation where I am not, I would like to be more confident that the bottom is in on Bitcoin before I even started looking at altcoins, even if I had to buy a little bit higher. But yeah, I guess the simple answer to your question is, can we go down below 20 cents? Absolutely. I don't think that's a crazy thing to look for if Bitcoin's going to get another breakdown. Take a quick look at Solana here. The heck is this? Let me get rid of that. So let's see here. Pull up the volume profile real quick. Come on, volume. You got it. All right. Yeah, I mean, pull up the weeklies real quick. I mean, this is, you've already tapped into the weekly. You got another weekly here sitting at about 58.39. I just don't love this, right? You got a pretty decent, this is somewhat of a high volume node. Like, all these high volume nodes are not as significant, right? Highest volume node down here, another massive high volume node down here. Pretty big fall off in volume here, right? So locally, you have the weekly here that you're currently holding. If you break this low, you got another weekly at about $58. If you end up losing that, I'd say you're at pretty decent risk. I guess if I didn't want to go doomsday, could look at this profile. with your value area high, POC, value area low, right? If you lose this weekly, I would say with the fall off in volume, not a lot down here. Get accepted into the range, like could be on your way towards about $32. As this is the POC, this is the major level. Wouldn't be surprised if you have a higher time frame MPOC down there. No weekly? Okay, I guess you don't. Just see what else we have here. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you have to go down there. But, like, when I try to find the support here, got to hold above this weekly. If you lose this weekly, I mean, 57.65 is kind of the last level. Because, of course, fast moves up can oftentimes equal fast moves down. And you do have this pretty big volume gap here, leading you to the POC at $35, or call it $33.38, like down to the biggest high volume node, which would be a deviation of this profile. So if I were looking at like major volume profiles, it would be this profile here to the downside, 46.38 to the value area high, POC 33.33, value area low 26.49. If I hide the upper range, yeah, you could look at the 2021. Should have that on. Oh, that's a local. All right, I'll take off the weeklies here. All right, when I look at these significant volume profiles, you can look at it like this. This is your 2021 bull market profile. We wound up getting a break in there. POC, hold the value area low, back to the high. All right, boom, you push above the 2021 highs, back in, POC, lower high, fill the range in full. I would say here, other than like 57, 53, like I just said, again, weekly level there. I could take this. I'm just going to hide this because it is tapped. This can take off. This I could take off. This I could take off. And then I will just mark off that POC, right? I would say, like, you really don't want to lose that weekly. Maybe you could deviate below the low before getting accepted back in. But once you lose this, I would be looking for price to start seeking out previous fair value, right? Fill the range in full. I'd be okay with deviations below. Get back into the volume profile. Then you could look for a bigger move up. If you lose that weekly, right, kind of really going to be looking, if you don't get the bull div in there, right? And again, but once we get closer to that, we can start paying more attention to it. But, like, if you can't hold this value area low, can't hold that weekly that we're at right now, that's your last chance. Other than that, it's like you're going to start gravitating towards this previous area of value if you get accepted in there. Like, these are the biggest areas of value. When price impulses, if we get an impulse out of this range, price is going to seek out previous fair value, which sits right down here, 46.71. Get accepted in here, probably a high probability to fill, which would make sense because you have your highest volume node down here. So you don't really want to lose essentially this range. Deviations are okay, but you don't, like, just like deviations above are okay, you still get the rotation back above. Same thing on the way to the downside, right? Deviations below are okay. You can still get back up to the high, but if you don't get that and you impulse out of here, I'd be looking down here between about 47 down to about $26. Hopefully not, right? But volume doesn't lie. So we'll see what happens. A weekly money flow in the red, right? This means lackluster retracements for lower highs and lower lows could be in store. This would be like the biggest zone of support if we're going to get the big drop down. I'd say between 46.71 and 26.40. So I would mark these off on your chart, right? Just simple volume profile rotations, right? We hit our head, break down out of the value area, resistance until proven otherwise. Resistance, you get back into the range, fill it in full. Impulse, where's price gravitate to? Into your previous value area, respected perfectly. Deviate above the highs. High probability you get back down towards that POC. Get the bounce, another deviation above. At this point, your high time frame money flow is starting to come to the downside, right? You would expect the downtrend to continue. Lower high, lower low. Fill the volume profile in full. Right? Overvalued price relative to your previous range. Technically undervalued price compared to your previous range. But again, if you don't hold this, price is going to seek fair value down here. So that's what I would look at on Solana. Not saying this has to happen. Not saying it has to happen today, tomorrow. But again, I would say that the biggest level to hold would be that weekly, because that's the only thing holding you back from coming down to seek this value. 57.80. So there we go. Alts need more pain. Maybe that's the pain zone right there. I think alts are dead. Shout out to Lion. I do believe, as I've said many a times, we are in a much different situation with altcoins than we have been in the past. I think gone are the days of throwing a dart at a board, landing on a random altcoin, and just having it 50x with everything. I think you do have to start being a lot more picky about the altcoins that you choose. And of course, higher market cap coins are typically a better situation, right? Yeah, shout out to Woozy says, Bitcoin's got to find a better bottom before I'm interested in alts. That's my exact scenario as well. Shout out to K Stressel says, howdy, brother. I'd rather have a pull front than a pull back. Shout out to K Stress. Let's go. Captain Kirk in the chat. What is going on, Cap? Welcome in. CandleMafia Mama hanging out with us. What is going on? How you doing, Cap? How you doing? Welcome in. Let's see. Buying now is crazy. Yeah. I would be much more interested to wait to see if Bitcoin can put in a better bottom for altcoins for sure. But yeah, let me just check Bitcoin lower time frame here real quick. Will we get that 7-minute money flow crossover? Can we do it? Again, fighting the daily red dot, fighting the 90-minute money flow. But just before I let you guys go, pull up the Bybit chart. Pull up the current range. We're at support. I got the scalp long here. Not super confident in it, to be honest, right? We're overall in a massively weak market. But, significant time frames. I've already gone. If you want to scroll back to the beginning of the stream, I kind of covered everything in super detail. But if we get a significant bounce from here, guys, biggest levels I'll be looking at is the push into this value area low, 786. Call it 66.8 up to about 67.7. Golden pocket, 786 retracement of the last leg down. Could be a lower high situation. Of course, if we get the lower high there, definitely going to be an area, if this long does end up playing out, definitely an area where I'd be interested in taking profits. There's actually some local levels I'm interested in as well. I'm not going to cover them because they're super low time frame. We cover that in the premium Discord. But, significant levels, I would say golden pocket, anchored VWAP, 786. This is the next zone I'm interested in. 66,784 to 67,696. This is going to be big, right? Because if it's just going to be a bearish back test, that could be the lower high for the lower low. If we get back in it, we break the 786. We could look for the push up towards that POC to take out that liquidity above 68K. In that case, the long will continue to pay out. And again, I'm just cushy, sitting in my shorts from much, much, much higher. So I might not even be interested in taking a new short here. I might just sit in my positions because if this is going to be a lower high and a lower low, I'm already beautifully positioned to capitalize on that. And then the local level to the downside, the next local level to look at, again, wasn't super interested in this level. Although it doesn't mean I can't take the scalp, but, I'm not super interested in this. If it plays out, great. If not, whatever. Stop out at a small loss, no big deal. And then the next level, again, not that I'm necessarily interested in, but technically you have the 786 daily sitting here between 62,773 and 62,448. More significant levels from a higher time frame perspective. Again, if you're not just day trading or scalping, we're inside the volume profile. We stay below this POC, can't break out. Again, there's that daily 786, but at the end of the day, value area low sitting at 59.8. Super market, boring market, just kind of waiting for this thing to make a move and come down to some more significant levels. We really just have low time frame, low confluence levels down here. Not super interested. Kind of just the reality of the market that we have right now. Shout out to Big Huggy said, I learned a lot. Appreciate your teachings. I'll get there eventually. Yeah, shout out to Big Huggies. Trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. Unless you, I don't know. Well, I guess if you ate crayons in, first grade, you still could technically make it, because I did. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Woozy, said 581 live viewers. Wow, DCA Bitcoin, guys. Yeah, it's absolutely brutal here. Nobody cares about crypto right now. Absolutely brutal. And honestly, it's really funny because the second we get the big moves, it's like, oh, we're back. People are coming back to watch the show. And then it goes sideways and people are like, this thing's dead. But yeah, it's definitely bear market social sentiment 100%. Like, not only is it super bearish, right, but like people are just, they don't care. Even in the bull market, guys. 2021 social interest. Or, I'm sorry, 2025 and 2024. So the peak of the social interest was right here. Even here. Like, if I were to draw this as a graph, let's say, like, this is social interest, the line I'm going to draw. It's like, boom. Let's say this is like, I don't know, 80 is the metric, right? Right? And then price comes down. Social interest, like, bottoms out. This was what the 2024 to 2025 bull market was from a social standpoint. And now I believe it's below the bear market of 2021. Nobody cared this entire bull run. It doesn't feel like it when you're in the space because, like, obviously you're around a lot of people who are in crypto. You're chatting with people in chat. But even the bull market had very little social interest. Literally nowhere near where it was in 2021. Nobody cared. And now people really don't care. So yeah, pretty brutal. And of course, even this price action is just gross. I can't wait to have a clearer view on the market, still making money on the scalps and also losing them as well. I would say overall, I don't know if I said this in the premium or here, all these like low probability scalps, I won some, I lost some. I would say like from a profit standpoint, I'm probably like break even on the like low probability scalps that I took here, which is good, right? Because you're not just eating up the profits that we've made. We're kind of just breaking even. And then eventually that next big trade will come in. I care about Bitcoin. It's my retirement plan. Crypto IRA is my way out. Shout out to Diaz. Hey, bro. You and me both. But yeah, with all that being said, guys, I think that's all the time we got for today's, I almost said premium live stream. Today's live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. All 7 of you. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated tomorrow. We'll be going live tomorrow again, hopefully with some kind of significant move here. But I am just holding my scalp long. Not going to be shocked if I get stopped out of that, and still holding my shorts for much higher, massively in profit. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's all I got. Shout out to Captain Kirk. Shout out to Jake from Reddit. Shout out to Lion, Big Huggies, Lyndon, Woozy, and last but not least, get your diapers, guys. Shout out to Big Huggies. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know, on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the roll,